Segment 2, Nikud Achat, Nikud He. Lemi. Lemi. In this segment, you'll be learning how to indicate ownership. What belongs to whom? This segment does include some words that you will want to memorize. Milim la'anot. Let's take a look at these words. Consider the first word, oniyah. The form that you find on the right hand is a singular noun in its plain form, or known as absolute. This is the way you've memorized these words to this point. After the comma, moving to the left, it's still a singular noun, oniyat, but notice the ending. Instead of kametz he, it is now patach tav. This is the form that would indicate possession. Instead of ship, it means ship of whatever noun follows. While the first form is known as the absolute or unbound form, the second is known as the construct or bound form. Bound meaning it is connected to what follows. You'll notice that in our textbook, particularly in the early units, it's followed by what appears to be a hyphen. This is known as a makef, a makef. It is used in the Hebrew Bible often to indicate that a word is in the construct form. It's not used universally, and sometimes it's used to connect words belonging together which are not construct. You've actually seen that following some prepositions, like the preposition el, meaning to. It's routinely followed by a makef. Here, as it's used following a noun in construct, it will help you in the early units of the textbook to distinguish construct forms. Later on, we'll begin to drop it so that you'll become accustomed to recognizing constructs without necessarily being followed by a makef, just as is the case in the Hebrew Bible. Sometimes it's there, and sometimes it's omitted. The second word is new to you, a piece of furniture, kiseh. In the construct form, there is no change, kiseh. The third word you've met before, lechem. And when in the construct form, no change, lechem. The fourth word is new to you, lashon. In the construct, you'll see that the first vowel reduces from a kametz to a shava, lashon, lashon. The last word, another piece of furniture, shulchan, shulchan. The construct form is nearly the same, although the last vowel has weakened from a kametz to a patach, pronounced shulchan, shulchan. Again, for our purposes, the pronunciation of these two will be indistinguishable. It's possible that in authentic biblical Hebrew in the ancient time, you would have heard a change in pronunciation. We are not sure exactly what that change might have been. Good. Now we have the equipment to indicate what belongs to whom. Let's see how we go about doing that. Consider, for example, how to go about saying a chair of a king or a king's chair. The way to go about that is similar to the flow in English, a chair of a king. So we would say kiseh, meaning chair, follow it by melech, king. Kiseh melech means a chair of a king. Kiseh melech. This is known as a construct phrase. All words but the last use construct spelling. Suppose, though, instead of just generally referring to a king's chair or a chair of a king, you wanted to refer to a particular king's chair, the king's chair. The way to do that in Hebrew is to prefix the possessor, that's the last element in this string of words, prefix that with the article. So we would say kiseh ha-melech, kiseh ha-melech, Kisei HaMelech. This means the chair of the king, or the king's chair. Suppose in another example that you see some bread that belongs to a prophet. You would say, well, this is a prophet's bread of a prophet, lechem navi, lechem navi. But if, on the other hand, you wish to say that, oh, this is the prophet's bread, the particular prophet's bread, once again, attach the definite article to the last member of your phrase, that is the possessor, in this case the prophet who's possessing the bread. Put the article on that last word, and then put them together. Lechem ha-navi, lechem ha-navi, lechem ha-navi, and that is the bread of the prophet. In case you're wondering about the fact that in English we're using two definite articles, the bread of the prophet, whereas in Hebrew we see only one, lechem ha-navi, not ha-lechem ha-navi. Please know that this is the correct translation. In Hebrew, we only put an article on the last member of a construct chain, but it renders everything upstream definite. So, for the needs of English expression, we need to multiply that article, and the article will apply to everything upstream. The bread of the prophet. That's the translation for lechem hanavi. Now let's turn our attention to the spelling of construct forms. As you saw from the vocabulary list above, some construct forms do not change at all in their spelling, but some do change. One of the most predictable ones is when a noun ends in kametz he, as in the case of oniyah, ship. The kametz he will change to patach tav. Patach tav. So oniyah becomes oniyat, as we move from the meaning ship to ship of. Notice then how we say a ship of a king. Oniyat melech. Oniyat melech. Or if it's rendered definite, the ship of the king, oniyat hamelech. Oniyat hamelech. Soon you'll become very skilled at noticing that a patach tav ending of a word is very likely indicating that this is a word in construct with the next one. The principle at work driving a long vowel, kametz he, to a short vowel, patach, followed by a tav, is similar to what we find in this next spelling principle. A long A-class vowel, kametz, in the last syllable of a word like shulchan, will reduce to a short vowel of the same class, an A-class vowel, namely a patach. So shulchan, ending with kametz as its last vowel, will reduce to shulchan with patach as its last vowel. Here there's no change in introducing a tav as the final consonant. The nun remains. So then, to say a table of a woman is expressed shulchan isha. Notice the patach as the last vowel of shulchan. Shulchan isha. If you wish to make it definite, simply place an article at the front of the last word. Shulchan ha'isha. Shulchan ha'isha. The table of the woman. So far, our expressions of possession, known as construct chains, have been comprised of only two members, an item and the person who possesses it. But suppose that you wish to indicate multiple layers of ownership, such as the name of the ship of the king, or the name of the king's ship, three members. Just as you can do that in languages such as English, you can do it in Hebrew as well. Here's a principle, though, which sets Hebrew apart. Do you recall how earlier, when it's rendered definite, we've mentioned putting the article on the last member of the chain? Well, that's true even if there are more than two members. If there are three members, and it's definite, you'll find an article only on the last member, but it distributes itself upstream so that in English we will need to put an article on each member. But in Hebrew, the article's only on the last member. And notice then, to express the name of the ship of the king, listen for the article on the last member, that is the king, melech. Shem oniat ha-melech. Shem oniat ha-melech. If the meaning you wanted to convey was indefinite, simply use no article at all. Shem oniat melech, a name of a ship of a king. There's just one more principle we'd like to point out concerning these construct chains. It has to do with certain construct chains which are definite, that is with the article the, even though you will not find the actual article in the Hebrew. As you study the three samples below, notice particularly the last member of each chain. So in Kisei Yonah, notice the word Yonah. In the phrase Melech Yisrael, notice Yisrael. And in Lashon Tarshish, notice the word Tarshish. What do these three have in common? Yonah, Yisrael, and Tarshish. Do you notice that each of these are proper nouns? These are names? And now you may realize why it is that there is no definite article used in Hebrew, because a noun that is proper, a name, is automatically definite. It's only when we come to English that we need to introduce, then in translation, we need to introduce the definite article to provide an accurate translation for the English language. So, Kisei Yonah is the chair of Jonah, or Jonah's chair, no change in meaning there, rather than a chair of Jonah. And Melech Yisrael is not a king of Israel, but it is the king of Israel. Lashon Tarshish is the language of Tarshish. Please review this information that we've gone through on construct chains, expressing possession. Invent a few of your own. Make some combinations so that you experiment with the language. And as you do so, you'll be consolidating your grasp of this very fundamental form of expression in Biblical Hebrew.